Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Google Digital Garage training session on writing for social media. My name's Alison. I'm a trainer for Google's free skills training program, the Google Digital Garage. Just a bit about myself. I'm an experienced digital marketing specialist and trainer. I've got around 18 years experience in digital. I ran my own e-commerce business for 10 years, which I grew with the help of social media before specializing in digital marketing consultancy and training. So hopefully some of that experience will come in useful today in answering your questions and supporting you on creating content and writing for social media. But I'm not alone today. I am joined by the fantastic Mohammed in the chat. So please do say hello to Mohammed, who's also a Google Digital Garage coach and will be interacting with you and answering your questions and comments via the instant chat to the right there. So you can identify Mohammed, our moderator, by their name, and you should see a little blue spanner next to their name there as well. So just before we get started in this hour-long session today, I just want to call out a few things to help you out. Firstly, if you're having any trouble viewing this webinar right now, please try refreshing the page. Often switching it off and back on again does the job, like so many things in tech. If you'd like to join the instant chat today, and we really hope you will, because we really want these sessions to be as interactive as possible, you will need a YouTube account. And you can set one up very easily by clicking in the box up to the right there. Just take you a minute or so to do, and then you'll be good to go as soon as I get started with the content. We will be pausing through the session to answer any complex questions from the chat box. Mohammed's only got a certain number of characters available to answer your questions. So if there's anything that they feel might be beneficial to everyone to hear the answer to, they'll be sharing it with me so I can come to it in the question break. So please do fire your questions across throughout the session so we can answer them. And just to let you know, we're running this Google Digital Garage session as part of a broader offering of courses. So please do check out our schedule of upcoming webinar training. There's information on this in the description below, which will link you through to the website. Right, okay, I think that's the housekeeping done. Let's get started with writing for social media. So in today's session, we'll be covering 3 core areas, and we do this with many of our webinars if you've ever attended one before. First up, we're going to look at defining your brand on social media. So we're going to explore what brand tone of voice is, which is a crucial first step for anyone writing on social media. And we'll be looking at some steps you can take to shape your own business's brand tone of voice. Secondly, we're going to cover some of the principles for improving your writing on social media. It is a real skill, but we've got some tips that should hopefully help. And finally, we're going to cover some of our favorite tools for creating content, and we've picked ones that won't break the bank. But before I get started on all of that, I do want to draw your attention to this fantastic service that's available to you if you're in the UK and you're a small business or charity. We offer free one-to-one mentoring, which is available, as I say, just for people in the UK, but for small businesses and charities. In these sessions, you can have up to an hour with a Google Digital Garage coach to go into anything we discussed today in more detail, or indeed anything to do with your digital presence for your business or organization. These sessions are completely free, and they can help you with a range of one-to-one digital skills. So it could be anything from building a digital marketing strategy to finding more customers online, to exploring Google Analytics, to talking a bit more about writing for social media. You can sign up at g.co/UK mentoring, and I know Mohammed will be sharing that link with you there in the chat as well. So do take advantage of this service because it's free. Why not? Go and have a chat with one of us for an hour. Mohammed and myself and many others are available there to help you out. So check that out after the webinar. But let's get to this first step, which is defining your brand on social media. Think about if you're using social media at the moment, how are you communicating there? Are you using a brand tone of voice? Have you thought about what brand tone of voice is? what is your understanding of a brand tone of voice? Share it in the chat if you have any ideas, what your understanding is of a brand tone of voice. So when we talk about brand tone of voice, we're really thinking about the way your brand or your business would actually speak if it was a real life person like you or me. So thinking about your business as a person, what might be the words that it would use? How would they behave? How would they respond in certain situations? Even thinking about things like how would they dress? So we're really fleshing out our organization as a character, really. What would they be like as a person? What would their personality be like? So the personality of your brand or your business, defining this personality and writing in a way, communicating in a way that reflects it, helps you to connect with your audience. And it makes you stand out from everyone else. We're going to look at some examples of this on the next slide, but have you thought about this? Have you thought about your business's personality? Are you being conscious when you're writing something, whether it be on social media or email or your website, of the way that your business is coming across? The words you're using, the way you would speak if you were a person. Because this tone of voice reflects your brand personality. It helps you connect. It makes you different. It makes you stand out. So it's a really important first step. And it's not just about thinking about your business's personality and how it would behave. It's also thinking about your audience and the sort of person your audience would want to connect with. So if we think about your business or brand, think about if they were a celebrity. Think about what celebrity would represent your business. Do share some ideas with us if you have any ideas in the chat about what personality, what celebrity might best represent your business. Because if we think about some of these well-known characters here, Bill Nye, George Clooney, Beyonce, there's certain attributes, there's certain characteristics that we associate with them. And George Clooney, you may have seen him on adverts before. I've seen him on coffee adverts before. And the reason that he would be a really good fit for a coffee brand is that we associate these words such as being sophisticated and smooth with him as a celebrity, which would then really represent that coffee brand very nicely if that's the personality, the feel, the essence of their brand that they want to communicate. So a really good place to start is to think if you had unlimited budget, if you could have any celebrity in the world represent your business, who would it be and why have you chosen them? What is it about them that those three words that would represent your business? And actually then taking that one step further and thinking, right, I'm going to come up with three words to define my business's personality, to describe my business's personality. So these sorts of celebrities, this idea about choosing a celebrity to represent your business helps to make your brand memorable, helps you to appeal to your target audience, helps for consistency. So think about now, and as we go through the session, if your business or brand was a celebrity, who would it be and why? Why is it that you've chosen that person, that celebrity? And we've got 4 key steps to help you develop your brand tone of voice. Because it can take a while. This isn't something you're just going to go, right, yeah, that's my brand tone of voice. You need to actually put some thought into it and take 4 key steps to come up with a plan of action on how you're going to communicate and how you're going to define your brand tone of voice. Now, a lot of the time you might intuitively know what a brand or your brand would or wouldn't do. So especially if it's your own business and it's, hey, it's just me, Alison, there's no one else in this business. I know how I communicate. That's fine. But what if, and hopefully your business grows and people come in to manage your communications and your social media? You need to ensure that anyone in the team is speaking from the same voice, not just you. So what's in here needs to be written down on paper so it's clear for everyone. So we're going to go through these 4 main steps that we think are helpful for shaping a tone of voice for your brand across the internet. And we're going to Friday afternoon, I can't get my words out, can I? We're going to dig a bit deeper into each one of these now. So first up, let's go right back to the start, wind back to your company values. What do you stand for? What does your business stand for? What are your core values? This is super important because as customers, we often look for businesses whose values align with our own. So it's important that we define what our values are. And it could be that your values are that you stand for excellent customer service or the best atmosphere if you're a bar or restaurant. Perhaps if you're a publishing site, you want to be known for having unbiased reporting. So these are different from your mission statement and why you exist and what you want to achieve. That's different from what you do. It's why you do what you do and what you stand for. And this is a really key area for all businesses. You've got your mission statement, you know what you want to do, but what are your values? What do you stand for? What do you represent? What do you want people to know you for? This is a really useful first step because it'll help you to go on to shape your tone of voice. So here we've got two examples of some brand values from two fictitious establishments. So on the left, we've got Nico's Pizzeria, and on the right, Hathway Legal. Two fictitious businesses with very different brand values. So Nico's Pizzeria is known for making quality pizza. Notice quality is highlighted there, quality pizza with fresh ingredients. Known for providing excellent customer service and fast and reliable home delivery or takeaway. So Nico's Pizzeria wants to be known for quality, fresh ingredients, excellent customer service, and being fast and reliable. Those are core values to that business. So Hathway Legal is a fictitious solicitor, shall we say, legal company. They have different values and different audiences to Nico's Pizzeria. Hathway want to be known for dedicating the highest level of diligence to each case. They believe their clients deserve a quick response, and they only hire top lawyers who've trained at prestigious institutions. So we can see here two different businesses, two different values, two different audiences, which ultimately will come up with two different tone of voice, brand voices as well. But they're highlighting here three core values to their organizations, these values that are extremely important for their existence, to help them deliver their mission. So Nico's quality, customer service, and being fast and reliable. Hathway, it's more about being this expertise, diligence, quick response, top lawyers to build trust and credibility. So think about how what your three core values are. What your three values are, because we want to really define those in order to make sure that we connect with the right people, and when we do connect with the people, that we're speaking in a way that appeals to them. Which brings me over to the user pen portrait. You may also hear this called an audience persona or an audience profile, or even called your ideal customer. But essentially, creating a user pen portrait is about identifying your target audience. We're going to paint a vivid picture of our audience using words, which is why we're calling it a pen portrait in this example. And this task can seem long, it can seem a bit daunting, but it's super important, not just for writing for social media, but for all aspects of your digital marketing and offline marketing, in fact. So all communications, you really need to understand who your core audience are. Now, the more detail you can include when you're creating your pen portraits, the better. So when I'm working with clients on target audiences and audience profiles, we will give them a name. We will think about, do they own a pet? How do they like to travel? What other brands do they buy? What's their favorite food? What's their political stance? All of these elements about your ideal customer that make them a person. Because if we can really flesh out who our audience are and really understand them, our message is more likely to resonate with them. So the more detail you can include in your user pen portrait, this idea of creating your ideal customer, the more likely you're going to create this character who represents your real life customers and it means your message is going to really hit home. So what we're aiming to do here is create a user pen portrait so we can write as though we're speaking directly to our readers, creating text that's more relevant and approachable. Now, you may have heard this before: create content for everyone, you're creating content for no one. Now, we're not sure where this quote came from, but it's pretty true. If you don't spend this time thinking about your brand values, your brand voice, and your audience, your marketing materials are going to lack consistency. They're not going to be recognizable, and they might miss the target audience that you're going after. Now, one of the common answers I get when we mentor, we do a lot of mentoring for small businesses. We'll say, so who's your target audience? Who is it you want to sell to? And often a reply is, well, everyone would buy our product. Everyone would be interested in it. But if you start digging deep and go, really, is it everybody? You can start to understand actually who this average user is, or who this ideal customer is that the business wants, because it's not necessarily and unlikely to be everyone that's going to be buying your product or service. There's going to be, that's not to say everyone can't buy your product or service, but there is going to be a core audience, an ideal customer who you want to communicate with. And what we really want to do is dig deep and find out who that is, so that the content we create connects with them. Because if we try and create content that appeals to everyone, it could be bland, it might not hit home, it's a bit wishy-washy. What we really want is a message that somebody reads who's our ideal customer and goes, they're talking to me. That's absolutely talking to me. And it starts building this connection with that brand. So it can start off with a general interest. For example, a brand like Adidas might target their content to people who are interested in sports and fitness. Yeah, that would make sense to just have this overall interest area to focus on initially. And then we're going to dig in a bit deeper. We've got two examples here. We've got Nico's Pizzeria again and Hathway Legal. So Nico's Pizzeria, here's an example of Nico's ideal audience. Simon, young single professional in late 20s who works full-time in advertising. Simon lives in Brighton and leads a very busy work and social life. He's a big appetite for adventure and is a keen athlete who enjoys playing football, but also goes to the local bar with his mates to watch televised sporting events. Now, you can see there, it's not just, oh, we're appealing to young professionals in their late 20s in Brighton. We've got some real detail going on there. We can see that Simon's very busy. He likes adventurous activities. He likes football. He's interested in sport. By understanding who their target customer is, Nico's Pizzeria can start creating marketing materials that really appeals to Simon. That's not to say other people can't come to Nico's Pizzeria and buy pizza, but really, they're going to be going after their target audience, their core customer. On the other hand, Hathway Legal, we've got Sally, who's in her early 30s, and she's first-time buyer, again, in Leeds city centre. Works for an insurance company and enjoys reading the newspaper and drinking, I can never say that, something at a coffee shop. She's a tech fanatic and enjoys getting the latest gadgets, graduated with a degree in history, and is a bit of a grammar nerd, appreciates quality. So can you see there that Sally's a completely different audience profile to Nico's Pizzeria? If we were writing content for Sally, we're going to want to make sure our grammar's all good for a start. Given that Sally's a bit of a grammar nerd, she appreciates quality. We're going to make sure that our content appeals to Sally. We might be talking more about current affairs in terms of she's interested in reading the newspapers. This may be more formal. She's a different age group. She's interested in buying an apartment. So these are two different characters for two different business types. And that's not to say Hathway Legal can't appeal to people in other age groups. Of course, other people can go and use their legal services, but really they want their content to connect and resonate with the people like Sally, just like Nico's Pizzeria wants to connect with people like Simon. So we've got some steps here, make a note of these core areas, core demographic details for creating a user pen portrait, because they're helpful to understand when you're creating one for your own brand. These are the questions you should be asking ourselves about our audience in order to build an accurate description of who we're talking to. So we gave you a couple of examples there of Nico's Pizzeria and Hathway Legal's user pen portrait. And these are some of the areas that we included there. So we're looking at your name. Give them a name. Yeah, they're fictional, but it's nice to give them a name and you know who you're talking to when you're writing your content, because you may have more than one user pen portrait. That's not unusual for a business to have more than one target audience group. So give them a name, age, location. Are they married? Are they employed, unemployed, student? Do they have kids? What kind of income bracket are we looking at? What are their hobbies and interests? What are their values? That's important. What things do they care about? So especially if you are a business which has a focus on, say you create sustainable products or sustainable clothing, that kind of, you're going to be looking at an audience who really cares about climate change, sustainability. That's going to be a value that's important to them. So think about what your business values are and ensure that they're aligning with your ideal audience. What's their job title? Now, this is more if it's a business to business, B2B organization. You might be thinking about, are they the budget owner? Do they make the decisions in the business on purchases? What industry are they in? What's their job title? And then looking at things such as what are their talents, what are their ambitions, even what are their politics. All of these areas is what make us as people, all part of these, all ingredients into what make us as people, individuals and personalities. So think about really ensuring that you're thinking about all these aspects of your ideal customer. It's not just about the demographics of the age and location. It goes a lot deeper than that. And it gets interesting at that stage when you're thinking about what concerns them, what they care about, what they believe in, because you're really getting to the essence then of who you're speaking to. So we've looked at brand values. We've looked at your user pen portrait, creating this ideal customer profile. Now, think back to when we were talking about those three celebrities. Think now about how you speak. Do you remember we were talking about three descriptive words to describe your business, those three descriptive words that describe those celebrities? These help form a basis for how you communicate online. So come up with 3 adjectives that will describe your business personality. And then when you're writing copy, text for social media and elsewhere, it will help you ensure that you're writing in the right tone of voice, in the right manner that reflects those adjectives, those personalities. So here we've got 3 adjectives to describe Nico's Pizzeria and Hathway Legals. So these 3 sort of personalities. So Nico's Pizzeria is charming, it's authentic, it's a family environment. So when Nico's writing content and writing text and writing for social media, they're going to want to ensure that their content comes across as family friendly, has that family feel, it's authentic, it's charming. Whereas Hathway, as a legal firm, wants to come across as very credible and powerful and efficient and experienced, because it wants to give confidence in its users and its audience, because it's providing a legal service. So we need to take them very seriously, don't we? We don't want them being jolly and humorous really with us. If we're trusting them with something very important and serious, we want to ensure that who we're talking to comes across in that way as well. So these can be reasons why they've chosen these adjectives. Nico's a charming family restaurant, it's a pizzeria, wants you to feel at home, whereas Hathway wants you to have confidence in its credibility and its experience and its efficiency. So really good exercise to do after the webinar, and be thinking about it now, is what are your 3 words to describe your business? And then we're going to also create some guidelines. So it's not just about, right, what's my brand personality about? You then want to start thinking about how you're going to write. This helps you to maintain consistency with the words you use and the way you describe things. So, almost writing yourself a little book of rules and vocabulary for your business. I worked in an organization, a big organization, which was across the UK, and we had certain rules that we had to follow, for writing on social media. I was a social media manager there, and we had to say Father Christmas, not Santa Claus, so that it was consistent across everywhere. So you couldn't say Santa, it had to be Father Christmas. And you'll find that in big organizations, they may have a rule book or a brand guidelines book that includes these kind of rules, the do's and don'ts that you can do when you're writing on social media. And it doesn't matter how big your business is, this is a really useful exercise to do, because as I said before, if someone comes into your team and you grow, you want to be able to hand over confidently management of your social media accounts, knowing that they will continue writing using the same voice that you did. So think about words that you might use to describe your products. Think about words you might use to describe your customers. Are you formal? Are you informal? Do you have certain ways that you greet people or thank people or signing off? All of these are really important. Also, things that you don't do. So we do not talk about whatever it might be. It might be politics, might be certain subject matters. We do talk about this. So this is really useful exercise to have it written down. Have a little guidebook, even if it's just a document, one pager with some outline rules on it. So we're going back to our examples of Nikos and Hathway here, but there's some suggested words they will use here and words they won't use. So for Hathway on the right there, they'll sign off, say their emails or their messages on social medias with kind regards. They don't want people to say cheers, because that doesn't reflect their brand personality. They don't want people to say best wishes. They want kind regards, and they want that consistent approach when people are signing off. They wouldn't use the word fab. That's a no-no. They'd use the word excellent. They won't use thanks. They want to say thank you with the hyphen. So this ensures that whoever's writing on social media or elsewhere for Hathway, they're all using the same lexicon. They're all using the same language to communicate with the audience. And same with Nikos Pizzeria. Words such as fresh, remember they pride themselves on fresh quality ingredients. So they really want to emphasize this fresh. This word is really important that they use. They want to welcome people. They want words such as appetizing. They don't want restaurant, it's a bit formal. They want to remember they're charming, they're authentic, they're a family environment. They want these words that reflect that. So we'd recommend that you take some time after the session to really think about how you craft your tone of voice. Think about, if you've been writing already on social media, how do you think you're coming across? How do the words you're using reflect your brand? Are they reflecting it in the way you want it to be reflected? Is it communicating your values? Take some time to come up with the words to describe your brand, come up with the words that you will and you won't use, and think about this user pen portrait. I've not even started talking about actually writing for social media yet, because these are really key steps to ensure what you then do, the marketing communications you put out, really do reflect your brand and organization in a consistent and credible way. Okay, I'm just going to stop for a quick break for questions. Check in with Mohammed. I think you're all good. I think everything's being handled in the chat there. So do join in the chat if you're not already. And I will crack on with the next section, which is the writing for social media. So I'm going to go through some guiding principles for communicating on social media. Have you heard this quote before? So we're not sure if it should be attributed to Blaise Pascal or Winston Churchill, but it reigns true for social media. I would have written a shorter letter, but I did not have the time. It actually can be really tricky to write concisely and get your message across. And anyone who's had to write for social media, even if it's your own personal account, You know how hard it can be to fit into small character account, especially in the old days of X or Twitter, when you only had 140 characters and you had to get your message across in a really small number of characters. And it's quite a skill. It's quite a skill to be able to communicate in this way that gets right to the point and gets your message across. The average attention span for a human being is around 8 seconds, unless our interest is piqued. And that's declining all the time. Actually, that's when these slides were created. It's probably decreased even since then. So this is crazy, but it means we need to work really hard as marketers to capture the attention of our visitors online. We are bombarded with thousands upon thousands upon thousands of messages every single day online and outside of the outside world. There's messages everywhere. Yeah. So how are we going to ensure that our message, that our business is going to get through to people, is going to grab their attention? We need to write for the goldfish. We need to ensure that our content is capturing their attention and holding their attention. And there's several different ways we can approach this, but I'd like you to think about when you last liked or commented or shared a business's social media post, not your friends, not your family, but a business or an organization's social media post. And just think about, what was it about that post that got your attention? Because no doubt, like everyone, you're like this on your phone, you scroll. What made you stop? What was it that made you stop? Because what it is that makes you stop, that's got your engagement, it's got your attention. And it's one thing liking a post, it's another thing taking the time to comment on it. It must have really engaged you to get you to comment on it. And further still, if you shared it with your network, there must have been something really super about that post for you to actually share it beyond just commenting or liking. So I just want you to think about what it was that grabbed your attention. We want you to assume that your reader is only going to read the first half of your sentence. Now, that might be a little controversial. You might say, hang on, I read everything when I look at a post. But let's just assume they're only going to read those first few words. You have to think that, because then you can ensure that that first part of that sentence grabs their attention and captures their attention enough that they will carry on reading to see what you have to say. And the same applies with videos. Imagine they're only going to watch, if you're lucky, the first 2 or 3 seconds. Think about if you use TikTok, how long before you swipe to see another video? How long do you give it? How much, how long do you give it the benefit of the doubt before you move on? We need to engage our users, our audience, immediately. And we need to intrigue them enough so that they carry on. And this is a real skill. A golden rule that they use at Google is to focus on the user. We need to go back to our user pen portrait, back to that audience profile, back to what concerns them, what do they care about, what are their values, and mean that we connect and ensure that we connect with them. We need to empathize about what people are interested in and what they need. And what our audience wants to hear isn't always what we want to say. There can be a disconnect here with businesses who want to shout about their products and services and, hey, we've got this amazing sale and look at this new thing over here. And that's not necessarily what our audience always wants to hear from us. When they're on social media, think about the reasons you go on social media. I very much doubt you go on social media because you want to see an advert for something. We're usually going on social media to entertain ourselves, get entertained, or we're bored, we're waiting for the bus or in the doctor's waiting room and we're bored, we just go on social media. We might go on because we want to learn something new, we want to be educated, I want to win something, I want to take part in a competition. What does your user want when they're on social media? So it's about being strategic in the content we develop that it meets these user needs. We're focusing on the user. We're focusing on the benefits of what we have from them, not necessarily the features that we want to shout about. So how do we focus more on benefits versus features, and what's the difference? What's the difference between the two? So I've got an example here of a new gadget watch. Okay, it's an all singing, all dancing, gadgety watch. And we've got on the left the features of this watch and then the benefits. And I'll just talk through the two. So the feature of this amazing watch could be that it's waterproof up to 5 meters. That's great. The benefit of that to your audience, to your user, is that you can take it swimming. You're not saying, yeah, it's waterproof up to 5 meters. You may have that written somewhere, but the key message you want people to know is, the benefit to you of buying this watch is you can just keep it on when you go swimming, you can go diving up to 5 meters. That's the benefit to you. It's got 5mm thick glass. Okay, great. How do we communicate that benefit? It's smash resistant. Comes in black, white, blue, or gold. So rather than just saying the range of colors, the facts, so the features essentially are the facts about your product, you want to talk about the benefit of that. You can choose a color to suit your personality. People are then going, oh yeah, absolutely. I'm going to choose black because I'm very sophisticated. So you're communicating to your audience the benefit, not the features. A spherical interface, the benefit could be comfort and style. So think about the product or service and your business as a whole. You might have the best coffee in Lincolnshire or wherever it might be. What's the benefit? That you don't have to go far to have this amazing cup of coffee. Think about the benefits of what you sell, what your product or service has to your audience. How are you going to improve their lives? Every single business is a solution to a problem. Every single business, every single organization provides a solution to a problem. If you sell chocolate, it's because someone wants a treat or they're hungry. If you sell jeans, it's people want clothes or style. So what is your solution and what is your customer's problem? And essentially, we're meeting their problem. We're showing them this is why we're the solution to your problem. So we've got some examples here of highlighting these benefits in the first half of your sentence if you're communicating on social media. So the first one is boost your CV with a free, that's the bit they're going to read. Oh, free what? Digital marketing course. That's the last bit. So getting that key point across right at the start. At the blue, get a free coffee roasting kit. Oh, my interest peaked. It's a free coffee roasting kit. How do I get that? When you try 3 bags of our roasting coffee. If you switch that round and write, when you try 3 bags of our roasting coffee, board off, you'll get a free coffee roasting kit. They're missing that key bit. It's coming later on. You want to give that benefit, that key value right at the start of the sentence so that your audience keeps reading. So try and think about how you can communicate the benefits and the key message right at the start so that they carry on reading the further detail. It's also really important to use clear, simple language, not complicated, flowery language. So clear, simple language helps your audience to read, understand, and use the information you're giving them. So always try and choose a simple word or phrase over a complex one. And writing in short, simple words and sentences doesn't mean you're dumbing down your message. It means you're communicating important ideas as clearly and effectively as possible. So we're looking at being reader friendly. You don't want people to have to get a thesaurus or a dictionary out to understand what you're saying. Don't try and sound clever by using long, complicated language. Avoid technical terms and jargon unless your target audience, who you've already defined, are very technical and know exactly what you're talking about and you're trying to resonate with them. We would always say try and steer clear of technical terms, jargon, any of that internal language or acronyms that you might use that no one else outside the organization understands. I'm sure you've all been in a position when you've started a new job or gone somewhere and you don't really know what they're talking about in the meeting because all these different terms are used and you have to work it out. You want to avoid that with your audience. You want to avoid using unnecessary words. Cut the copy, edit it down. Try and make it as short and straightforward as possible. The principles of plain language or plain English include structuring your message logically. If you have a longer form text, if you have quite a lot of text, make sure you split it up using headings and subheadings, bullet points, lists, tables, just making it as easy as possible for your reader to navigate your content in your written text. But this idea of short, uncomplicated sentences and leaving out anything that's unnecessary, really important. And choose common everyday words over these technical terms or jargon. And I was just talking there about cutting things down, editing it down, trying to keep it short. But how do you do this but keep the same meaning? It can be quite a skill. Let's just go back. What we'd recommend is create the post, write your post, come back to it. You don't need to write a post and publish it straight away. I'll often write posts, reflect, get them proofread by somebody else if you're in a team, come back to them. If I've got a really long post, can I split it down into more short posts? So rather than one great big long bit of copy, okay, actually, do you know what? That would make 3 really good shorter posts to put out on social media and give me more content to share, which is great. But ideally, you want to be looking at, can I cut out any of these words? Is there stuff in there that's not really necessary to be communicated, and get that core message across as succinctly and concisely as possible? Now I'll move on to handling customer complaints on social media, because this is really important. Sad fact, if we run a business, we may have complaints to deal with, and they may be on social media, because hands up if you've ever gone on social media to complain about something. I know I have, and people do, because they know they'll get a response. So this can happen, and on social media, these complaints can be public. So first up, we want to try and understand our customer's point of view. So if you've ever complained to a company, let us know. Did you? You can be honest. I have. Does it get resolved on social media? Think about how it was dealt with. Think about, were you satisfied with the response? Did it avoid you having to sit in a long phone queue before speaking to someone, which is why I've done it that way. So think about how you've complained as a customer, if you have, and how it was handled. And then think about how you would have liked it to be handled. Was it good? Is it something you can learn from, or is there something that they could have improved? The key is that you always want to be polite and professional. Remember that your reply will often be public, at least initially. You do want to respond without necessarily accepting responsibility yet. And you do want to ask people to contact you directly to resolve it. But one really key thing to remember here is, don't panic if there's a complaint or something negative about your business on social media. Actually, this is giving you an opportunity to turn a negative into a massive positive. It's about how you handle it. So if you are dealing with customer complaints or negativity, rather than use a passive voice, use an active voice. You want to take ownership, and you want to make sure your writing is clear, concise, and to the point. So how do we do this? First of all, we want to acknowledge the customer complaint. We want to accept, we understand this isn't great, you're unhappy. We want to focus on acknowledging and fixing, not just empty empathizing, not just, yeah, we're really sorry that happened. Don't say stuff you don't mean. We want to be very active about it, and we want to take it seriously. Rule of thumb, if money's been involved, respond seriously. Don't try and be jokey. If someone's made a kind of funny sort of complaint, bit tongue-in-cheek, bit comical, you might be able to come back with a more humorous remark, but you do need to sort of gauge the situation. But really, if there's been a transaction, a monetary transaction involved, it warrants a serious response. So don't trivialize it, don't joke about it. If that you don't know, especially when we're writing, there's no nuance there. It's easy to misinterpret things that are written because we don't have that luxury of actually speaking face to face with someone. So err on the side of caution and take it seriously. If you are dealing with a complaint, make sure you sign off with a name. And you might have noticed this having complained on social media before. I think it was a bank or something, a big organization. They will say a name at the bottom because there'll be lots of people dealing with their social media accounts and customer service in a big organization. And signing off with a name means that, well, number one, we've got a trail of people we've spoken to. But also it humanizes the situation, doesn't it? It makes you feel like you're talking to a person and not just a faceless logo or brand. And make sure you sign off with a name. It's really important. So we've got an example here of a complaint that may come across on social media. So this customer is saying, look, I ordered a mobile from your company last week, but when it arrived, it was badly damaged. When I called to complain, I was rudely told you don't accept returns and I need to contact the delivery company for compensation. Is this really how you treat loyal customers? I will never buy from you again. Hopeless. Okay, not the kind of thing you want to come across on your social media account in the morning. But think about how you might respond to this. Because if this appears on your social media account, it could look bad for your business. It might mean that other customers worry about ordering from you. They might read that and think, oh, actually, do you know what? I'm not going to buy a mobile from that company because what if it gets damaged and I can't get a refund? So the first thing we want to do with this is get it out of the public sphere as quickly as possible. Okay. We don't want to carry on this conversation with this customer publicly. So you might have noticed that before as well. You might be asked to send a DM. So let's take it into the DM. So you might have complained publicly on social media like this. And then when they're responding, they go, oh, right, yeah, we want to help you. We want to deal with this. Can you send us a DM with your order number or details of what happened? So you'll often find the first step is to take it away from social media as quickly as possible. So this was the way that you could respond. A good response. It's not passive. It's not jokey. It's not empty to this customer's complaint. Hello, customer. Our sincere apologies for the inconvenience caused and the poor customer service you received. It fell below our usually high standards. So they're acknowledging the customer is inconvenienced, and they're also saying, we usually have high standards. Now, this isn't what you would be expecting from us normally. We value your patronage and will launch a full investigation into why our team provided you with misinformation and didn't treat you with the full respect that you deserve. So they're saying what they're going to do. They're going to launch a full investigation. They value this customer's business and they are acknowledging that they weren't treated in the way that they would be expected to be treated. And then finishing off by saying, please contact me on my direct email and we can organise full compensation or a replacement. So taking it offline. So we're going to carry this on email, and then also saying what they will do. They're going to fully compensate or arrange a replacement for the customer. Now that response publicly will show other potential customers how this organisation has dealt with that complaint. And we can see they're resolving it. They're offering full compensation or a replacement. So it's a really good way to demonstrate, oh, look, they've responded, they're handling it, and this is what they're going to do. And then all importantly, at the end, Hannah. We've got a name as well. So this would then be carried on email, but the public response is there for people to see how the business has dealt with it. Okay, just another quick check-in. All good. Everything's going on in the chat, so that's fine. We will crack on with the final section, which is your toolkit for content marketing, for social media content marketing. There's some really important key steps and elements to think about and include when you are writing on social media. First up, check your grammar. Check your grammar. Do you remember Hathaway Legal's Sally, I think her name was, who used a pen portrait? She's a bit of a grammar nerd. And I know from my own examples, I will think, oh, I missed an apostrophe there because I'm a bit geeky like that. It's really important to check your grammar. You are writing online, and spelling mistakes and grammar mistakes can reflect poorly on your business or organization. Now, we're not expecting you to be really hot on your use of semicolons and grammar and spelling. You know, we're not all, that's not our bag for everybody, but there are plenty of tools out there that can help you ensure that your writing is good and that your grammar is correct. So Grammarly, and I'm sure Mohammed will share the link with you in the chat if you've not heard of it before. Grammarly is a tool that will check your posts, and it will suggest if your sentences are too long or unwieldy, or if you're missing a comma or an apostrophe, highlight any spelling mistakes. And in some tools, actually, Grammarly is integrated as well. So I know on Hootsuite, which is a social media management tool, they have Grammarly integrated so that when you're writing a post, it will actually highlight to you if there are any errors. It can also be added as an extension on your internet browser, so that it will highlight there if you're making any mistakes. So make sure you've got it set to the region that you're in as well. So US and UK, obviously different spellings, different expectations of language there. So make sure you're using the right region, but it's a super useful tool. Another thing which I know some businesses do is to actually draft all their social media posts in a Word document or Google Doc. And you can use the spell checking tool there as well to highlight any grammar or spelling mistakes. So that's a really good exercise to, when I was talking before about reflecting on what you do, if you plan out your posts and have them there in a doc, you can go back to them and edit them. Similarly, if you are using a social media management tool, like I'd mentioned, Hootsuite, and there's tools such as Buffer out there and many others, you can draft posts there and have them sit there to go back to. But checking your grammar, really important when you're writing. And everything really is very visual now on social media. We are looking for eye-catching photos. Really, it doesn't mean that you have to have professional photographer taken photos, but photos that are authentic to your business and really reflect your business are important. So whilst you can use stock photos, and stock photos are available out there from lots of different websites, if you can use your own eye-catching photos, that can really reflect your brand voice. It's not just the words you use, it's the visuals you use as well. So use eye-catching photos that really reflect your business. And if they can actually be in your business, of the people working in your business, of your products and services, that's going to really help communicate your brand personality as well. And there are plenty of tools out there to edit photos on, from Canva for graphic design and creating graphics and images. And actually, there's photo library on Canva now as well. You can also edit photos in there and add filters on your photos there. But there's other apps such as ViscoCam and many other photo editing apps out there now to enable you to change the brightness, get these photos looking as good as possible, enhance the contrast, ensure your photos are just tip top. And we've all got amazing phones pretty much in our pocket with smartphones now. Amazing phones, I mean, amazing cameras on our phones, just in our pocket now. So the tools within phones themselves, smartphones, can be amazing for editing the photos as well. I think consistency is really important here as well, not just in language, but in the way your visuals appear. So if you use a certain filter on a photo editing app, make sure you use it consistently. Make sure you're using templates that have the same look and feel. So you might be including your brand colors in your photos or in your graphics. You might be including your logo, you might have a certain border around. Think about if you're on Instagram, says the grid, if someone's looking through, does that photo look like it's coming from your brand? Are you using the same template? Are you using the same fonts? Are you using the same borders and colors and filters? So what you really want to be doing is making sure your visuals that accompany your writing, everything's consistent and it makes sense for your brand. It's reflecting your brand personality. It's communicating your brand voice. Graphic design apps. I've mentioned Canva already. It's a free graphic design tool that you can use on mobile or desktop. I'm sure Mohammed will share the link with you in the chat. You can create your own designs, or you can use one of a multitude of templates, and it will also enable you to create posts and graphics in the right size format for all the different social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, X, LinkedIn, Instagram. It will tell you the sizes you need and help you create these graphics in the appropriate size. And you can also use it for creating cover photos, profile photos for all your social media platforms as well, incorporating text and graphics. And finally, as I mentioned before, most of us have got a smartphone in our pocket. This enables us to take amazing photos and videos really easily, not like even 10 years or 15 years ago when we didn't have these tools at our disposal. They're very simple tools, but they allow you to start creating effective content straight away. It enables you to take photos and videos of yourself as if you had a cameraman. But what I would say is, if you are going to take videos, just using a selfie stick or a tripod will really help you avoid the wobble, the vibrations. It will keep your phone stable. It will enable you to reach further afield than just holding it in your hand. And it will make a real difference to the quality of your content. So don't worry if you don't have expensive cameras at your disposal, that's fine. Your smartphone is sufficient. What's really important is that your videos and images are stable, and that if you're using sound, the audio is good. So there are lots of tools available: microphones, selfie sticks, even lighting, ring lights you can attach to your phone to enhance the content you can create using your smartphone. But it's absolutely fantastic, the tools we've got available these days to create this content, which means we can all create really good stuff for our social media profiles. Which brings me to the end of our Writing for Social Media module, or webinar, I should say. I can't see any questions being passed across, which is fine, which means Mohammed has been helping you all in the chat. So really good stuff. What I want to know is, what are your next steps? Do let us know. Are you going to go and create a user pen portrait? Are you thinking about your brand tone of voice? Are you going to sign up for another webinar with the Google Digital Garage? So Mohammed will share a link with you there in the chat on how you can do that. We do have some really good complementary topics, such as digital marketing strategy, social media strategy, getting started with advertising. And we've also got, of course, the fundamentals of digital marketing if you want to explore the whole landscape of digital marketing on a self-study course. But I do want to remind you, we offer free one-to-one mentoring. You'll get up to an hour with a Google Digital Garage coach, myself, Mohammed, one of the team. There's quite a number of us. We can sit down and talk to you about what I've mentioned today: writing for social media, digital marketing strategy, advertising, whatever it might be. Do sign up. It's available if you work for a small business or charity in the UK, and you will get up to an hour completely free. So it's a fantastic resource to take advantage of. And that brings me to the end of today's session. So thank you all so much for joining Mohammed and I. I'm going to wrap up. I'm out of time. I hope you found that a useful insight into creating content and writing for social media. As I've just mentioned, there are more ways of training with the Google Digital Garage. We have webinars in many different subjects. We also have courses for you to study in your own time, online, available 24/7 on the Google Digital Garage website, which brings me just to say thank you so much for joining us today. Do leave us some feedback if you've enjoyed the session. We do love to hear all your feedback. And we really look forward to welcoming you again on another Google Digital Garage training session soon. Take care. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, everyone.